right, hello everyone and good morning. My name is Carissa Larson. I'm a program manager on the Microsoft 365 Admin Center team, and I'm really excited to talk to you about some improvements that we've made based off of what you've told us in the user management and group management administration experiences inside of the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. So I'll be going through some of those demos, kind of talking about the improvements that we've made, and then my design counterpart, Ian Kirshner, will come up near the end and kind of give a little bit of an insight into how some of your feedback has helped to shape the product. So that's actually where I want to start. I know if you've gone to some of the other Admin Center sessions, you've heard us talk already about how important your feedback is to us, but I really wanted to make sure that you guys understood how much we pay attention to that. In 2019 so far, we've gotten over 100,000 pieces of in-product feedback through the little gray button at the bottom of the Admin Center, and we've read through every single one of them. We might not have responded to every one of them, but they really help us understand what you guys are looking for and what's important to you and help to shape the product. So that's one piece that we pay attention to. We also do a lot of customer research. So also in 2019, we've done 35 customer research efforts so far, and they're really driven by what we see in product, what we hear when we talk to you guys at Ignite, and they help us to get a lot more in-depth information about what we should go and implement and what we should do. And so that helps us to shape the designs that we come up with, the features that we come up with, but we want to make sure that what we think is right is actually right and useful to you. And so what we do is once we put it out into production, we don't want to just say, OK, good, we're done. We want to take a look at it and make sure that it's actually useful and it's making your jobs quicker, easier, more effective, and you guys happier as admins. So you'll hear us talk a little bit about some experiments that we've run, and those are really just to make sure that we actually got it right. So when we go and take a look at the feedback that you guys are giving us, we hear generally three major themes that are coming through. I will talk about two of them today. I will talk about everyday efficiency and actionable insights. And then if you were here right before this, you might have heard my colleague Tim Heaney talk about making the experience configurable for your organization. I'm not going to talk about that one today. I would encourage you to listen to and watch his session afterwards. If you're interested in permissions and role-based access control, my colleague Alice Appleton tomorrow will be talking a little bit about the improvements we've made there and how you can use it to tailor your organization. So I'm just going to start right in with everyday efficiency. What we mean by everyday efficiency is really making sure that you have all of the information across your Microsoft 365 services available to you in a way that makes it easy to act on, easy to find, and easy to learn about. And so I'm going to go through a few different features here. But I first wanted to start off with, what does efficiency mean? Because depending on the scenario and depending on the person, it's actually not quite the same. And so if you take a look at infrequent actions, things you do once a year, this for smaller organizations might be something like adding new users when they're not joining that often. But for some larger organizations, it might be things like the audits that you do yearly. And when you're not doing these things frequently, what we hear and what we've learned is that actually providing more clarity means you can be more efficient. If you have the right information, if you know what you need to get done, and you know how to do it, that actually helps you to get it done faster. But that's not always the right experience if it's something that you're doing day in and day out. When you're doing it day in and day out, you know what needs to get done. You know how that needs to work. And making sure that you can do that as quickly as possible with low friction, standardized, and automated processes is really important. And so I'm actually going to walk through some of our improvements that we've made to the ad user experience that meet both ends of those spectrum. So first, I'm going to talk a little bit about our ad user wizard. This is something that we improved over the last year. And it was driven by the fact that we saw fairly decent success rates and customer satisfaction with the experience, but we weren't quite happy with it. We wanted more people to be able to complete that wizard successfully so that they could get their employees started with their organization. And so on our development team, we've had this notion that less clicks is always better. It seems fairly intuitive, right? If you can get through things with less clicks, that means you're doing it faster. And what we did with the Add User Wizard is we actually took it from an experience that was one single panel where you could open it up, you could fill out the fields, and then you could create that user, to a, I think it's a 4-step wizard. And we did an experiment after we released this. We tested it with customers first, but then we did an experiment. And what we saw and what we were looking for was an increase in customer satisfaction and an increase in the success rate for actually completing that wizard. And we saw a 9-point increase in satisfaction and a 5% increase in the success rate for the wizard. So we knew that for the majority of customers, which the majority of customers that we have at Microsoft 365 are smaller businesses, that this was actually an improvement for them when they were adding users into the organization. But what we know is that that's not actually the right experience for everyone. If you need to add lots of users into the organization, bringing that from a 1-step process to a 4-step process is actually going to be really annoying. And so we have taken a look at what we call the size and maturity spectrum of being able to actually add people into the organization. And from talking to a lot of customers of various different sizes, what we found is that on the very small end of things, that Add User Wizard working fairly well. The very large, very mature organizations have provisioning systems for adding users that are actually working fairly well as in addition. And in the middle of this spectrum, there was challenges that people faced. Everywhere from, hey, I add lots of users, it's getting really inefficient, and I need to figure out a better way to do this. So I'm starting to learn how to use PowerShell, but it's actually a little bit daunting. I'm not quite getting it. I'm needing to spend a lot of time learning how to do the thing instead of just doing the thing. All the way up to, we have some automation workflows that we have in place. We've got one person who figured it out. They put them in place. Dear Lord, I hope that they don't leave because I'm so scared. And so in this middle bucket, what we've done over the past few months is develop the concept of templates to try and help with this. And this is really about removing some of the necessity in filling out a lot of fields that are repeated across different users. And so I'm just going to kind of walk through what this looks like in adding a user through the Add User Wizard. So I have my unique settings, things like my first name, last name, username, things that can't be shared across many different users. But other than that, what we heard is that a lot of users actually look the same. So the basic step is other things like, do I want to create the password myself as the admin, or do I want the system to auto-generate it for the user? Who do I want to send that password to so that the user can log in? As well as the license and apps choices. So most people actually have the same licenses and apps if they're in a particular business unit. And so those are things that you're probably going to set for a group of people instead of setting them for a particular user. Their role, most people in organizations are users with no privileged access. But when you do have privileged access, that usually is given to a group instead of being chosen on specific users. And finally, profile information. This is things like the location where the user is, what their address is. The only thing that we don't save here is the mobile phone number, because that is unique to the user as well. And so what we've done with templates is, instead of when you want to create multiple users, having you go through all 5 of those steps, fill out the values for those, you have the ability to save those values to a template and then reuse it when you're adding new users. And so instead of having upwards of 30 settings that you need to fill out the value for, you actually just have to fill out that name, first name, last name, display name, and if you want to choose a password for the user, then you'll choose the password. And so today, the templates you can create for yourself as an IT admin, and then you can use them to add users. We know that customers also want to be able to create these so that other IT admins with user management privileges can add users using that template. And so we're working on making sure that they can be shared with people as well. And so I'm going to kind of go through what that looks like in the product and in a demo in just a minute. But we've had this out for a few weeks in an experiment, and what we're seeing is that there's about 1,000 users that are being created today using templates. And it's been an efficiency increase for the users that are using them. So I'm going to switch over to a demo. So you can see this is the active users experience inside of the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. If I wanted to add myself as a user into this tenant, I'm just filling out some of the basic steps, choosing a password for this user, and then I'm going to require a change of password on first login, and I'm going to send this to the logged in admin as well. I think that I want this person to have E5, and so I'm going to go and assign them the E5 license. But I'm not quite ready to use audio conferencing yet, and so I'm going to go and turn that application off. So when I go next, user role is fine for me, but when I fill out profile information, I'm actually a speaker, and I am speaking in Orlando, in Florida. And so you can see that this has been focused on the particular step that you need to fill out. And I haven't gotten any template requests yet, so I can just go and finish adding this user. Once I finish adding them, I get this option here to save the user settings as a template. And so if I save this as my Ignite speaker template, I will then be able to use it to add another user. So if I click on Add Another User, you can see I still get first name, last name, display name, and their password, because those are fields I need to fill out to create the user, but that are unique to that particular user. But all the other fields that I just filled out are saved to the template, and so I'm going to apply those settings to the new user very quickly when I add a new user. If I had other templates inside my organization as well, I can quickly switch back and forth between those templates. And so it allows you to start chaining together the addition of users into the organization. And so if I go and say this is Ian Kirshner, who again is my designer who will be up here in a minute. I can go and add him as a user as well. And if I want to create a template outside of adding a user, I can do that as well. If I wanted to think about what settings I wanted to save to the template, what a user looks like in my FT engineering org versus my marketing org, I can create templates for that. And then I can use them here to add new users, or I can go and manage those templates. And so today in Manage Templates, I can see the settings, I can use those templates, and I can delete them. So you can create, delete, and use. We know that you guys want to be able to edit the settings of the template, and we're working on that. We just wanted to get them out to you as soon as possible. So that's the template experience that we've been working on for kind of the mid-market segment to try and help with the efficiency of adding users into the organization. But we know that a lot of our IT admins request to be able to use PowerShell more easily and more efficiently inside of our administration experiences. And so we've actually gone and integrated the Cloud Shell experience that has been available in the Azure Active Directory Admin Center and shell.azure.com into the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. So this isn't there quite yet, but it'll be coming very soon. It's a web-based PowerShell module, and today you can connect to Azure, Exchange, and Teams through it. So it allows you to be able to run commands across these different instances. I'll do a quick demo of the power that you can realize through that. So I go up into the header here, and I click on the Cloud Shell button. And this will start opening up a Cloud Shell instance for me, and it's automatically connecting to the Azure instance. And so it takes a minute just to connect to the Azure instance. And what I will do after it connects to it is I'll actually go and connect to the Exchange module, and I'll connect to the Teams module as well. And so I'm going to be brave and connect to Exchange live on stage. And it should take about 15 to 20 seconds. And once I actually connect to Exchange, I'm going to try and set up a safe attachments rule for my E5 licensed users. And so what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to find everyone in my tenant that is licensed for E5, and then I'm going to set the sent to rule for the safe attachments policy to those E5 licensed users. So before I do that, quickly, I'm going to connect to Teams as well. And so now I have this single PowerShell instance where I can run commandlets across Exchange, Teams, and Azure. So I'm not quite good enough to remember all of the commands that I need to run and just type them in here, but I will copy and paste. So what I'm doing is I'm searching for the E5 subscription, and then I am getting all the Azure AD users that have that E5 subscription and adding them to this E5 users group. So you can see here I've got 5 users that have that E5 subscription. Those were all Azure commandlets that I ran. And now I'm going to do a set of Exchange commandlets to set that safe attachments rule. So if I go in here and do this, you can see that I'm setting that safe attachment rule to be sent to all of those E5 users. And then when I get that safe attachments rule, I see the same 5 users that I got that were licensed for E5. And so hopefully this will be the start of helping to decrease the barrier to entry to PowerShell so that you can use it for your day-to-day functions and make you more efficient. And so we know that this is a really important topic. Being able to get your day-to-day functions done is something that is really, really important to you. And so with the templates concept, we know that we're really just at the start of our journey. And so we're thinking about expanding that, but we would really like to hear from you on where we should go with it and what would be useful to you. And so the things that we're thinking about are adding more features into support for the templates, helping to enable self-service either for end users or for some of your local IT teams, or to just connect it more deeply with PowerShell and with automation. And so I have a focus group session on Thursday at 4 p.m. So if you think that this concept is interesting and you'd like to tell me what we should do with it next, please come to that focus group session. If you're not able to make that, we do have this link here, ux.microsoft.com/ignite2019, where you can self-select for us to follow up with you for research if you want to get deeper integrated with the product team and make sure that you're helping to drive our investments. So I'll mention both that focus group and that link several times throughout the session, and I'll have a slide at the end where you can follow up on what that looks like. So I also want to go through some improvements that we've made to the group management experience, because we've heard quite a few issues with managing groups, specifically Office 365 groups, inside of Microsoft 365 today. And so the 4 main issues that we've heard, the first one is that there's just too many group types. We have distribution groups, security groups, mail-enabled security groups, Office 365 groups. I don't know what to use when I want to create a new group. And so the improvement that we've made is to change the add group wizard, leveraging the same concept that you saw with the add user wizard, but also providing some more information to help you decide what type of group to use. The second one is that there's just these nonsensical group email addresses that get created. As the IT admin, sometimes you're not involved in the group creation, and the end user that's creating them doesn't use the right naming policy to create the groups, and it's really hard to then go and find and manage them because actually editing that group email address has been very difficult. And so we've added the ability to edit the group email address inside of the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. The third one is that there have been Exchange license requirements for you as an IT admin to manage some of the Exchange settings on the groups. And we heard from customers that, I'm just going to read off a direct quote here, we should be able to manage these features as long as they have Exchange admin rights. At this time, the system does require an Exchange license for these management features, unfortunately. And we agree that you don't need an Exchange license just to manage the features, and so we've gone and removed that license requirement. And the final one is, how do I use these groups to create these collaboration spaces for my end users to collaborate in the org? You have teams, you have groups. I want to be able to connect them together so I can use the power of both of those services. And so we've added the ability to create and manage a team from a group inside of the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. So I'm going to show what some of those look like. If I go into the groups experience here, you can see that since last year, we've brought the same efficiency improvements to the UI that we brought to user management into the group management experience. So we've got the same infinite scroll, the search capabilities. We've improved the detail panel so that I can see some information across my Microsoft 365 services. I'll dig into that a little bit in a few minutes. And then we've also added this add group wizard. And so when I open up the add group wizard, I see the 4 different types. I'm able to create any of those different types. But I also see a little bit of information about when I want to use each of those different types. And the settings that I get for the group are dynamically changed based off of the group type that I'm choosing. And so you can see that that left nav there changed when I chose a distribution group. But I'm going to go and create an Office 365 group. And so if I create my demo group here, you can see that I'm focused on the basics and then the settings that are within the group and then the owners of the group. And so if I add my demo group, I can choose the privacy of the group, whether by default that's public or private. And then I can create a team that is tied to this group when I'm actually just creating the group from the get-go. You can see I've demoed from this tenant before. And if I go and assign an owner, I should be able to finish creating the group. I'm going to assign Adele here as the owner. And once it's created, I'll have a group that I can use to communicate across Teams and Exchange. Another feature that we've added to hopefully make it easier to find the groups that are created is the team status column. So when I do connect teams to groups, you can view them, that status in this column. And you can also filter to the groups that have teams connected. We've added this as a built-in filter into the group management experience. We also added 2 other filters. We added groups with dynamic memberships and Office 365 groups. And so if I actually wanted to change the name of this company meetings to company biweekly meetings and clean up this 1 that's at the end, I can go in and I can edit the email address for this group here. We've added the ability to change the domain that the group is part of as well. And I can go in and confirm that I want to save the changes here. Now, you're seeing me demo this as just I'm changing the primary email address for the group. We know that we need to provide the ability to add that email address as an alias, and so that's actually what my devs are working on in Redmond right now, and we'll have the same capabilities that we have for changing a user email address come through to the group email address as well. And if I remove this filter so that I see all of my groups, not just the ones with teams, you can see that I can edit the settings around external senders and sending copies of the group conversations, change the privacy of this group. And I can also go and connect teams if I wanted to this group. So you don't have to do it when you're creating the group. You can connect it later. And then the final thing that I wanted to show here is if I have a team that has a group connected, I can go into the Teams Admin Center to see more of the settings on that group. Now, because it logs me out, I'm not sure if it's going to take me directly to the team page for this. Hopefully it does. But when you click on that link, it will take you directly to the team page, so you're able to view the team-specific settings of it. And so this is a way that we're connecting all of the Microsoft 365 services together so that you see the top-level information about it inside of the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, and then hopefully you'll be able to see it inside of the Teams Admin Center as well. So there's actually one other issue that we heard around group management, but it wasn't specific to group management. We hear it about user management, device management, any object that gets created inside of the Microsoft ecosystem. We hear that being able to find the right objects when you need them to view information or to make changes is actually really hard because we don't have the right capabilities inside of the service today. So what we've worked on is implementing a Microsoft graph-based search inside of the Microsoft 365 Admin Center to help to find those objects. And so what I'm going to demo today is really just a baby step on the journey, but what you can hopefully take away is that we are going to be working on improving search and really prioritizing that over the next few quarters so that we bring this power into other experiences. So I'm going to kind of walk through a scenario where I know that I have this top secret project called Project Apollo that's going on in my organization. And I know that there's probably some groups that have been created for this, but I want to go and change the privacy settings for those groups. I want to make sure that they're private, and I know who has been added to those groups. And so in our previous versions of the Admin Center, because the groups could be created with any different names, it would be pretty hard to find these Project Apollo groups because they might be named Project Apollo and Team Apollo, but you could only find a group when searching for the word Apollo if the group's name started with Apollo, which is really frustrating because you might not know what it starts with. I don't want to have to go in and search for a project and team and like go through and see what everything is. That's a lot of manual work on my part. And so what we've implemented with the Microsoft graph-based search is I want to go and look at groups of teams. I know I didn't go in and delete all those groups. So I'm going to look at groups with teams, and I see all of them now. And I see that there's a Project Apollo group here, but I'm not sure how many of them I have. I can go and search for Apollo, and I see the Project Apollo group come up and the Team Apollo announcements. So I should be able to search for the term that I actually know about the group and that I'm looking for. And so this is kind of the first step that we've done. But we know that we need to do a lot more with it. And so what we would like to hear, again, from you guys is what are your top issues with search and how can we help to improve them? And so give us that feedback at the focus group. You can give us that feedback through in-products feedback and also through connecting with us in this ux.microsoft.com group. And so those are the efficiency improvements that we've made inside of the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. And I wanted to spend just a few minutes talking about the actionable intelligence that we've brought in as well. So if you were here earlier, you heard my colleague Tim talk about how we've brought actionable intelligence through recommendations and onboarding experiences into the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. Up to this point, those have been available on the setup page as well as on the dashboard. But we know and we hear through quotes like this that you have to go through so many different windows and boxes to find information. And so we've been working on bringing that right information as recommendations and suggestions on not only the dashboard, but in context into the experiences that you're using daily. So you'll see me show in the user management experience how we're starting to integrate some of those suggestions so that if there's information relevant to the action that you're taking, you get that right when you're using the feature. So I'm going to jump straight into a demo of these. So when I go back to the active users page here, I see the users page, but then I also see that there's this suggested action that's showing up. And so with this suggested action, I see that there's this recommendation to set passwords to never expire for my users. This is a recommendation that we worked on about a year ago because we saw in some of our support cases that customers were getting signed up with a password expiry policy for about 90 days. And this was a default policy for the tenant. Not realizing that it was set, about 90 days later, all of their user passwords would expire. They'd all reach out to the IT admin. Really frustrating experience when you're having to go and help everyone in your organization sign in. And at the same time, we looked at a new white paper that was published from our security analysts at Microsoft. And that white paper actually said, you know, it's logical that having these passwords expire, changing them a lot, is going to protect your organization more, but what we see is that there's pretty bad end-user behavior when they're needing to change their passwords so frequently. They actually create very insecure passwords that are easier to hack, and so it's better for productivity and for security to actually set those passwords to never expire. And so given those two, the support cases that we saw, the frustration from customers, as well as the updated security recommendations, we built that recommendation, and if you had that policy set, it pops on the dashboard. But if you have another recommendation, like say you had risky sign-ins in your organization, that is a higher priority one, you might not always see that recommendation. And so on the active users page here, because passwords are related to identity, we're bringing in here so that you have more of a chance to see this recommendation. And so if I click on View here, I can see that there's a really simple way for me to change that policy. I stay inside of the user management experience. I don't have to go out. The second in-context recommendation that I wanted to show is if I go into Adele's account here, and Adele has recently started. Sorry, I chose the wrong user. So Christy has recently started, and I added her as a user, but I wasn't quite sure what administrator role she needed yet. And so I'm going to go in and quickly change her role because she needs to help me out with a particular task. And so because I don't know what she needs yet, but I know that she needs to do something really quickly, I want to go and just give her global admin so that she has everything that she needs. And so when I choose global admin, you can see that in this tenant, I have 6 global admins, and actually global admin accounts are much more frequently attacked than regular accounts because of the privileged access that they have. And so having less global admin standing accounts is much safer for your organization. So we know that because of the the security analyses that we do at Microsoft, and we want to surface that information to you guys so that you know kind of how many global admins you have, you know what some of the best practices are, and that you can still make the choice to set this user as a global admin, but you're getting that information when you're taking that action. And so if I switch back to my deck here, I also wanted to show a suggestion that isn't quite in product yet, but that we have been working on over the past few weeks. When you go to reset a user's password, this is a super frequent action that we see from IT admins. And we have a tool that helps to allow you to democratize that action to your end users called self-service password reset. But we don't turn this on by default because we know that a lot of organizations actually want to consider how they want to use it before they go and turn it on. And so it's something that you need to enable for your organization. And so what we've been working on is experiences where at the end of an action that you take, if there's a way that you can do this more efficiently, if there's a feature that we have that helps with this, we actually surface that feature. So you can see here I've reset a user password, and at the end it says, hey, do you want to turn on self-service password reset for your end users? They can actually reset passwords themselves, and you won't have to do it. And so these are where we're starting to bring in that actionable intelligence into the user management experience. We're not just going to bring it into the user management experience. We're going to thread it in throughout the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. And so I wanted to end with a section that I like to call Open Mic Night, because we put these features out there, and then we really do open the mics up for you guys to tell us what you want to see. So I wanted to give a few highlights of features that since we released the preview of the Microsoft 365 Admin Center back in, I think it was March of last year, that have been directly impacted by that feedback that you gave. So the first one that I'm going to talk through is dark mode. When we first released the Admin Center experience, we heard, hey, it looks great, but there's not enough contrast. It's really hurting my eyes. Can you please do something about how white the experience is? And so in June 2019, we released a preview of dark mode, but it was only supported on the dashboard in the left nav. And so we got quotes that said, hey, this is great, but please bring it to more of the experience. And so we had been working on bringing it to more of the experience, but the number of feedbacks that we got actually drove us to reprioritize and bring this in quicker. And so coming soon, we're going to extend the dark mode to more areas of the Admin Center, including the user management and group management areas. And so this is what it will look like on the user management experience, and this will be rolling out over the next few weeks and months. Yay. I'm a huge fan of dark mode as well. I have it on all of my apps that I have downloaded. So when I switch to a light mode experience now, I kind of go, So I'm going to invite Ian Kirshner up on the stage now, and he's going to talk a little bit about how your feedback on the licenses and apps experience helped to drive changes inside of user management.
Thanks, Carissa. I'm going to talk a minute about kind of what we're doing in Redmond in terms of listening to your feedback and how what you're seeing in the product really is taking into account the voice that you share as customers. So first, I just want to spend a little bit of time showing our process. So as Carissa mentioned at the beginning of the session, feedback really is our guide for not only how we design products, but what we design. So over the course of a year, there have been thousands upon thousands of pieces of feedback that we've received in our product with that button on the bottom right. And we've actually responded to over 2,000 pieces of feedback directly to you. So please, we encourage you to keep on doing that. That really is our connection to you. And not only listening to that feedback to know what we're going to do, but after we decide what we're going to design and build for you, we take the time to test that in testing environments in Redmond and remotely to make sure that we can dial in the experience before you even see it. So at the end, we'll talk about how you can get involved in that research as well. And after we ship after we've shipped a feature or a new experience in the product, we do listen to your feedback to make sure we can keep on improving. We actually call these experience hypotheses. We don't think that we've arrived at the solution right away. We look at this as an evolution. So I want to take some time to talk about an experience that we know we've gotten feedback about. I know it's kept me up at night as a user experience designer, and it's the license and apps experience. And we know that there was a lot of feedback about this in the Office 365 Admin Center. And when we were moving into the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, we wanted to make sure we understood where you were at with this experience. And something that was a key piece that was missing was being able to easily see all the apps that a user has enabled in their service, based on their service plans. So when we moved to the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, you'll notice not only the differences between licenses and apps, but as Carissa mentioned, and my colleague Tim and Ben, we really had an experience principle with this new admin center to really focus on efficiency and focus your attention and manage the complexity of your visual environment. So things like typography, the layout, the hierarchy of the page are all so you can find what you need as quickly as possible and get it done. But for licenses and apps, our experience hypothesis for this was being able to split out licenses and apps as separate surfaces would actually make it easier for you to get your work done. And in our testing environments in Redmond and remotely, that tested really well, and people generally felt that this was an improvement. But there was something we missed that wasn't top of mind of customers that were in our testing environments. And that was for E3 and E5 licenses, with SharePoint and Exchange, this actually created a really, really difficult pain point that, again, we didn't catch in our testing environments and in our reviews. But when we shipped to you, we got that feedback from you. And when we saw that trend of feedback, we got right to work on a solution. So now if you go into active users, licenses and apps are combined into one surface. You can see the licenses that are enabled, and you can see the apps that are enabled. But we know that we're not done yet. So we really, like Carissa was saying, we want to invest more in this experience so we can make per user license and app management even more efficient, more insight-driven, and more focused for you. So Carissa's going to come up and talk about how you can continue to get involved. But I just want to say that your feedback really is our fuel as designers at Microsoft. So thank you.
Yeah. So we have a blog that we've put out about all of the features that we've released inside of the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. We encourage you to go try that Admin Center out at admin.microsoft.com, use the new global reader role, and then give us that feedback about the experiences, but please do sign up to talk to us through the ux.microsoft.com link. We'll be at the booth all week. We are right inside of the Modern Workplace area at booth number 25. And use that in-product feedback button, that gray give feedback one. My rotation is going to be at the end of next week. So if you give some feedback, maybe just shout out like, hey, Carissa, here's what I want to tell you about the experience. We have a bunch of related Microsoft 365 Admin Center sessions. I would encourage you to come to the RBAC session that happens tomorrow. And I think I'm going to end on this slide for a minute so that I see a lot of people are taking pictures of it. I'd like to thank you for coming and listening to the improvements that we've made, and hopefully they'll help to make you more efficient in your day-to-day jobs.